welcome back to another episode of Is Fitz Happy? I'm Luke,
And I'm Emma.
and we're finishing Mad Ship today.
Yes, we are.
Whew. Chapter 40, the Epilogue,
Yes.
the Memory of Wings. And of course, as
It's
always,
the serpents.
we gotta go to the serpents. Hell yeah.
Gotta get their point of view. It's mandatory.
We know where we are going and why. Why must we push ourselves so hard, swimming so swiftly and for so much of the day? That is the slender green bard Teller. I believe it's Teller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Teller. And Shriver responds saying, I think Malkin drives us so hard because he fears that our memories may fade again. We must reach our goal before we lose our purpose. That's just a little catch up again. The last time we saw them, or maybe the time before the last time we saw them, they had finished devouring Ringsgold Draquius and gaining strength and memories from eating that live ship.
Yeah, I think that was the last time we saw them.
Okay.
I guess unless you count She Who Remembers, in which case,
Yeah.
yeah, we saw her last when she was escaping. So,
well, they have gathered in numbers once again, and even some of the more bestial serpents sometimes have flickers of intelligence behind their eyes, and they've started acting more like they're a part of a tangle rather than just animals,
right.
even if they're not fully, involved. So there is some hope, and they have a lot of numbers of seemingly intelligent serpents.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal and a big change from the start of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, very exciting on the serpent front.
Yeah.
More hope there as well, I guess.
But Caesarea chimes into that conversation as well and says there's more to it than just us losing our memories. The seasons are turning. We are nearer the end of summer than the beginning. We should have been there by now. We should even now be wrapped in silt and memories, letting the sun bake our memories into us while we make our change, Calaro added. Our cases must be hard and strong before the rains come and the chill of winter. Otherwise, we may perish before we have completed our metamorphosis, Scarlet Silic reminded them all. The other serpents in the tangle added their voices, speaking low to one another. The water must still be warm for the threads to form best. Sunlight and warmth are needed for the shell to be hard. It must bake through, solid and firm, before the change can begin. So all of the serpents are kind of muttering and sharing their knowledge of this because that is knowledge that they have newly gained from eating Ringsgold.
Right. And they're reminding themselves and each other in this little game that they're playing of telephone, and each one giving a little bit more information than the last.
But that gives the reader a lot of information as well. That one, the migratory time is beginning of summer, and they should have wrapped their cocoons so they can dry the cocoons all during summer. So it's fully baked through. Now it's nearing close to the end of summer. So I think this is what you were mentioning last chapter, is that they didn't have enough time in their cocoons before they hatched.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Tintaglia absorbing the wizard wood as it was melted instead of these ones having to eat some of it.
Yes. So I think there is a little bit of...
There's a difference between...
Yeah, there's a difference. And I think also it goes back to the very beginning when Malkin tasted the waters the very first time and said it's time to go on. That must be the changing of the seasons. He must have felt the changing of the season.
Yeah.
I believe the beginning of the book is at the start of summer as well, right? Or...
I don't remember. We could go back and look, I guess, but it's hard to do that in here. I don't remember.
Yeah. So...
But we know that they've been traveling a long time and don't really know the way. They've been wandering back and forth because
they're kind of going in circles. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to tell, especially with the cataclysm around. All of this conversation kind of awakens Malkin because they're resting at the moment. And he says, "Sleep and rest, little ones," ignoring the fact that several of the serpents were far larger than he was, and many were his equal. Dream well and take comfort in all we know. Speak of it to one another. Sharing the memories Draquius gave us will help us to preserve them. The tangle had grown, and in the wake of that sacrifice that Draquius had made, many of the feral serpents had shown signs of returning memory. That's kind of what I was talking about before, how
Right.
maybe they're not fully intelligent in talking and sharing these memories, but a lot of the feral ones who did eat some of the live ship are acting more like a tangle.
Yeah.
But Malkin is driving them hard and far and trying and pushing themselves out, and the serpents have voiced why they think that is. There's multiple reasons why they need to go.
Right. And also, we learned that it's kind of a good thing that they have such a big tangle because now when other groups of serpents come across them, they either avoid them entirely or join in.
Yeah.
So there's protection in having such a large, intelligent tangle.
Mm-hmm. Trevor is still following Malkin to the word and very religiously here, and is glad to close her eyes and rest because dreams have returned to her. In her dreams, she flew again as she recalled her forebears had done. In her dreams, she had already changed to a fine dragon with the freedom of the three realms. So she settles in, but abruptly, Malkin interrupts and adds again, but do not become overly confident in these memories. He did not proclaim it loudly, only she, Caesarea, and a few others closest to him opened their eyes to his voice. What do you mean? Shriver asked him in dread. Had they not suffered enough? Now they remembered. What was to stop them from reaching their goal? Nothing is quite right, Malkin said quietly. Nothing is as it was. Nothing is exactly as it should be. We must swim fast and well to allow ourselves time to overcome obstacles along the way. Be assured there will be obstacles. What do you mean? Caesarea asked plaintively, but Shriver thought she already knew. She kept silence and listened to the prophet's reply. Look around you. What do you see? Caesarea spoke for them all. I see the plenty. I see the remains of old structures tumbled on the seafloor. I see the arch of Rythos in the distance. And is not the arch of Rythos in all your memories a pleasant place to perch after an afternoon of flying? And basically saying that this was above ground last time that we knew.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
We also get an official name of an Elderling city, which is Rythos, which is kind of
Yes.
cool.
The Arch of Rythos, standing tall and proud at the entrance to Rythos Harbor.
Right. We also know that this is not that close to Other Island, because She Who Remembers is not with them yet, and she's
Right.
going towards them. So
It's not that city.
yeah, it's not that city. It's a completely different submerged city, which again brings back from our Fitz series how dangerous those touchstones are to go traveling through,
Mhm.
because some of them are they could be underground, they could be underwater. There are so many things that could go wrong just by pressing the wrong stone to go to the wrong place.
Mhm.
And that's kind of crazy to think about. But I also wanted to ask quickly, what do you think the three realms are? Is that the human concept of there were three territories?
No. They've talked about it before. The three realms is the water, the earth, and the air,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
It's like the lack, the plenty, and something else. I don't remember what, but they've talked about it. They're, lords of the three realms.
Three realms. Yeah. I just could only remember the lack and the plenty. So
The other one doesn't really matter, but I think it's the earth.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who cares about that?
So Malkin proclaims that, things are different than what our memories say. And no
Yeah.
one replies to that, all waiting for his answer to his own question. Why is it scattered and broken and swallowed by the plenty? And Malkin answers himself saying, I don't know either. However, I suspect that these things are what have long confused us. They are why things were almost familiar, why could nearly recall the way and yet could not. He's spelling out plainly what maybe some of them already knew subconsciously,
Right.
but literally, telling them and bringing it up. And Teller, the minstrel, asks, well, is it our fault then? Like, what's going on with this? The memories that Dracuius bequeathed to us tell us that we should look for serpents who remember, and not only those ones, but also guides that are supposed to assist us. Where are the grown dragons that should have stood guard at the river mouths to protect us as we swarm? Why have we seen nothing of the generation that went before us? Malkin's voice went soft with pity. Have not you grasped it, Tellur? Dracuius told us what became of them. Some perished in the rain of smoke and ash. Those few who had a chance at survival were slain and their memories stolen. They are the silver ones we have encountered from time to time. They smell to us like one who remembers, because at one time they were. All that is left is their stolen memories. So that right there really hints that the Elderlings who saved these particular logs saved them because they housed the memories of all the dragons.
Right.
They knew that these were important Wizardwood logs.
I mean, I think they just knew that they were baby dragons. Maybe they didn't quite grasp the concept that there are memories in there.
You don't think so?
I don't know. We know that there's a bit of distance between Elderlings and dragons because if they get too close, whatever. But would they know this has memories? Like, would they be close enough to dragons to
over
know?
centuries of things? I feel like yes. I feel it because they assisted with the migration and they would have one serpent leading them all or something like that,
Sure, but that doesn't mean that there's memories in the Wizardwood.
No, but they could know that they are important.
That's true. I mean, I would think they simply save them because they care about dragons and it's important that the baby dragons are.
Yeah, but all of them being one who remembers.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, all of the Wizardwood logs that were saved were a serpent, one who remembers, right? A he or she who remembers. Ooh. So I'm saying that the Elderlings knew that those particular Wizardwood logs were important and prioritized saving those over the other ones.
Okay.
Because they knew those particular logs were important to the continuation of dragons.
Interesting. Okay. I just assumed this was just how many there were, like however many live ships, that was just that amount of serpents that time that were becoming dragons. I didn't think about maybe there was a lot more that also perished.
So that begs the question, because it happened really quick, right? So they had to frantically save some. That begs the question, could live ships be made out of regular dragons?
Yeah.
Cocoons.
I don't know.
Or is it the one who remembers special properties of holding all those memories? What makes them turn into live ships later?
Ooh, interesting.
Or because the one who remembers gives those memories to all the serpents before they migrate or as they're migrating, does it matter?
Yeah, true.
So kind of a couple questions, but that's what I think that the Elderlings did. They specifically saved those.
The ones that seemed more important. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I guess, too, the dragons presumably were there directing, but maybe not.
Maybe.
I don't understand. I also am with Teller, like, what happened to the dragons? Because even if there's a cataclysm and you think all of the eggs have died, what about the other ones? Like,
well, their food sources die, first of all, because they can't survive if there's no plant life, and then the herbivores can't eat, and then the carnivores can't eat, and then the apex predator will die out and there's no food to keep them.
But they're not locked to the areas where cataclysms are happening. I mean, that's where people were friendly to dragons, but they could fly anywhere for food.
Right. The other places, the servants were killing them.
Oh, good point. Good point. Okay. Probably poisoning food sources as well then.
Yeah, poisoning food sources, hunting them as they could.
Yeah.
Using all the resources to do that.
Makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. Never mind then. I was like, I mean, there were still serpents. Presumably they could have.
Remember, they were hunting the serpents too. They brought the serpents.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah. That proclamation makes a vast silence amongst the Tangle who heard him because it reminds them that they're the last. And it
Yeah.
reminds Shriver that there's not going to be a guided dragon helping them make their cocoons. They're going to have to struggle up by themselves. They're going to have to struggle to make the cocoons themselves and hope beyond hope that they hatch. And Shriver knows that if she does hatch, she's going to spend years and years watching more serpents being hatched, not having an older generation teaching them in the water and having them and hoping that they can find their way and survive and come back to hatch again. She doesn't know if there's going to be enough mates to choose from because this is going to be such a struggle.
Right. Like a lot of people, a lot of these dragons might not make it. So
Yeah.
then what? If there's not enough opportunity to mate,
And
now,
even if they all manage to cocoon themselves, who's going to watch them through the winter,
right,
through disasters and things like that? There's no people, there's no one looking over them.
right. It's becoming more and more dire.
Yes. The odds against their survival of her kind suddenly seemed insurmountable. If she survived to become a dragon, she faced a long, long life of watching dragons and sea serpents vanish from the three realms. How could it be endured? They belong to us, Teller declared bluntly. What does? Shriver asked distantly. The future, she thought to herself, the tomorrows belong to us no longer. The memories stored in the silver ones, they are ours. Having them makes us stronger. We should take them back. Teller, Malkin gently untangled himself from the others and flanks Teller. We do not have the time to take vengeance. Not vengeance. I am talking of taking what is rightfully ours, what is greater sustenance to us than the food we eat. The memories were shared amongst us. What one should have possessed was divided amongst many. Nevertheless, we became wiser, and each has shared what was learned. How much more would we benefit from a greater portion of those memories? We should seek them out and take back what is ours. Malkin raps Teller pretty quickly, releases some toxins at him, and the smaller minstrel becomes dominated and a little bit more quiet at
Right.
that. And Malkin, convinces him, saying, "We have no time for that. We have to keep going on. Of course, if the opportunity arises to take another silver, we shall have it. Because, yes, I agree with you, those are our memories. But for now, we're just going to rest and press on. And if it
Right.
comes across our path, we'll take it, but we're not going to seek them out. We have no time." So that's kind of a dire warning to the readers as well of like, okay, there's definitely going to be a clash with another live ship, and maybe that's going to be Vivacia or Paragon.
Yeah.
So now the readers are worried about what the next book will bring.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the reader does know, first time reader would know there is a dragon, so there is hope. There's more hope
Yes.
than the serpents are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's only one dragon. And how are they going to be safe? I don't know. There is a lot of worry that this puts in the mind.
Yeah. So it kind of sets up for the next book there. And
Yeah.
the last point of view we get is She Who Remembers.
Yes. And we learn a little bit more of her perspective and how she's feeling. She starts her section with, she was crippled. She would never swim as easily as a dragon riding an updraft. She had been kept too long in confinement and fed too restricted a diet. She could not straighten her body to its full length, stunted though that was. Perhaps it was permanent, perhaps it was hopeless.
But without a doubt, she was free.
Right. So, a little bit of sadness there of what the others have done to her. We have She Who Remembers, who,
The abominations that she has slain without regret.
yes, that she is happy she did.
Yeah, so she is very aware of her situation, that she is behind other serpents. She should be leading them already. She should be giving them memories already.
Right.
They should be cocooning at the moment. She's very aware of what time it is and what Malkin has just kind of said to the other serpents.
Right.
And she is behind. And she knows that she has been altered by her captivity as well because she's reliving and savoring the moment of killing the abominations. She knows that she's like, well, I want to do it over and over again, but I have to press on.
Right. And interestingly, she mentions that that thought alone of wanting to repeat that moment is just another deformity that they have left her with, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really interesting because vengeance feels like a dragon emotion already, not something that would be like given to her by proximity to these others slash human feelings.
Yeah, but maybe the desire to relive it over and over and just keep doing it is something
Mm.
that, like, yeah, they drove in that anger, that desperation, that desire for revenge against them so much that it is overriding her need to do other things.
Oh, okay, sure.
Maybe it's that kind of
Okay.
feeling instead of just vengeance in general.
Yeah, that could be.
Because, yeah, I agree with you. They're definitely petty animals that like to take revenge on things.
Right. But then she goes back to where she is at present.
Hmm.
She talks about how she had seen the little two legs taken up in a rowboat and then followed it protectively until it was taken up by a greater vessel. The scent of the ship troubled her. It smelled like a serpent, yet it was not. Moreover, it smelled like one who remembered, and yet it was a tongueless thing that answered her not. She did not want to consider how that could be. The answers could be hidden in the boy's knowledge that she had shared so briefly. She considered taking the time to follow the ship and puzzle things out, but a greater urgency beckoned her.
She's finally like, well, after all of these time, fate finally freed me.
Right?
I need to get to the other serpents. I want to puzzle out this ship. She doesn't really know it's a ship, but I
Right.
want to puzzle this out, but I have to go. And she knows that as stunted and as deformed as she is, as crippled as she calls herself,
Yes.
she still has what she needs to help the serpents. In her glands and toxins resided the ancient knowledge of her race. It was to be shared with them before they swarmed up the river to begin their change. As she humped and writhed through the water, she doubted that she herself would make the arduous journey up the river. Yet she would seek out the others and share with them the stored memories. She came briefly up into the lac, tasting the free salt wind. On the deck of the silver vessel, men cried out at the sight of her. She dove swiftly again and made her decision. The silver ship was bound back toward the islands. Beyond the islands was the mainland, and in the mainland was the mouth of the river that led to the cocooning grounds. That was her destination. She would stay alongside the silver vessel as long as their paths lay in the same direction. There was something, perhaps, to be learned here. Besides, she was intrigued with the small thinking animals on the ship. She would study them. When at last she rejoined whatever remained of her own kind, she would have memories of her own to share as well. There's a couple other things in there, but that seems to be a big part of the mindset of these older serpents and dragons. Tintaglia wanted to add her own memories and finally like kind of savor those new
Right.
experiences, and now she who remembers wants to add something as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably an important part of the process, but also it's a guarantee that you live on, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anything interesting or new to share, nobody's going to use your memories. Nobody's going to
Right.
think of you. And then it kind of is a waste of a life, right? I mean, I assume in this sort of context for
Yes, in this
these
context.
beings, yeah. So I could see how it would feel like I need to make my own memories so that I am important and I have purpose outside of just giving the other memories. It's also my own that get to stay on with all
Mm-hmm.
these the next generation.
And that's the end of the book. And from what I remember, the She Who Remembers kind of stays alongside Vivacia, and Vivacia, with those memories, it could be some other event, but with that particular serpent alongside becomes Bolt, her alter ego, her dragon ego.
Yeah.
And then when Malkin's Tangle encounters them, She Who Remembers is with that ship already, so can kind of sway them not to eat
Yes.
Vivacia.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point, Vivacia might have made promises already to She Who Remembers
To help.
to
Yeah.
help. So that kind of like prevents the, oh, we're going to eat whatever silver
whichever live
provider
ship,
we encounter.
Yeah, definitely interesting things going to happen. It's also interesting to see from She Who Remembers' point of view this boat, this ship, because she has been, kept away for so long and her memories are still sharp.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's kind of cool to think about. It's also really interesting to me that the landscape, though it must have changed a little bit, has not changed fully because She Who Remembers mentions that they're going past the islands, and past the islands is the mainland,
Yep.
which is where the river is.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still the case.
Right.
So kind of interesting to think about.
Mad Ship, done.
Done and dusted.
Done and dusted. What'd you think of it?
I liked this book more than I thought I would, I think.
Objectively, as a book, this is a book review.
Yeah, true.
I think this is better than Ship of Magic.
Fair.
I think it has more character development. It's less of a setup for the rest of the trilogy and more of like the actual meat of everything. It still has the character development. It still has some, plot lines that are new and are developing. It wraps up some. It has a big action moments, and it does end on a cliffhanger, obviously, because it's, the second book of a trilogy and it can't be like a complete novel.
Right.
But I think this is a better read than Ship of Magic.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like I like this book in that it gives us a little bit more of like hope, I guess. And there's a lot more, maybe not action. I mean, definitely more action, but a little bit more payoff for the action, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah.
A lot more.
It's not just tension. There's some release.
Exactly. So I like that about it. Although I understand why the first book has to have all that tension and why it can't have more release and payoff. Obviously, the first book in the trilogy just can't do that. But it is a nice break to have things starting to go the direction they need to be. Everybody sort of has enough information to go forward. You can kind of, I don't know. I feel like all the information we've gathered along this book has really solidified this world. And I don't know, it's a satisfying read, I think.
Yeah, it's opened up more. We get a lot more context to the magic and dragons in general. You get the, revelation that serpents turn into dragons and live ships were previously cocooned dragons.
And I think also character growth.
Yeah,
which is really nice to see for a lot of these characters.
Actual change from Althea and Brashen and Wintro.
And Malta.
Yeah, very, very interesting book. So I reviewed briefly what we said at the end of Ship of Magic. So we were talking about how long it took to read through and do Ship of Magic, and it was about 10 and a half, maybe 11 months to do that one. And I said, I quote here, this is what I said in that episode. I feel like one of these books is going to take us a whole year. If it takes us more than a year, man, that is a dense book then. And our first episode of Mad Ship was May 26th, 2023. And when this airs, I believe, if I've got my math correct, we're recording a little ahead of time. When this airs, it's going to be June 7th, 2024.
Woo!
A week passed.
A dense book.
Yeah, this is over a year. This is our first book that took us over a year, I think. The other ones were very, very close, maybe at a year. But I think this is our most episodes out of all of them. I think Assassin's Quest was our previous record. But this might have beaten it. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, it took us a while to get through it. So let's have some questions about it. Let's think about it.
Yeah.
What was your favorite character to read? What was your favorite plot line?
Okay, I think my favorite character right now is Paragon.
Okay. Is that just for this book or over the whole 2 books?
I think over the whole 2 books. I think Paragon's plotline of figuring out who he is, of maturing, of being this kind of scared little boy / brave adolescent, I really like that growth. I like the relationship with Amber. I like the gradual trusting of Brashen and Althea more. I don't know. I like Paragon. I think it's a good break from all the other characters.
Now, it's been over a year, but I will remind you what you said that you were looking forward to. Is that you were looking forward to Paragon getting restored and that plot line.
Yeah.
So
I love Paragon. It's a good plot line. It's a good, I don't know. I think what makes me like it so much is the fact that he, like, his pain and the things that have happened to him feel so deep and tragic. Not that the other people don't also have tragic things happen to them, but like his is so horrendously tragic. It's like bad thing after bad thing after bad
Right.
thing. And he is finally getting a time of his life where people love and care about him, and
he's able to try to work through some of that trauma.
yeah. And so I think I just love that he kind of gets a break. I mean, still has to deal with a lot, still has a lot of trauma, and obviously trauma doesn't go away because you have a good like month, you know. But I like that he's getting a break.
Yeah.
I like that life is cutting him some slack. So I think that's why I like it so much.
Is that also your favorite plot line in the book then? In this book, particularly?
No, I think my favorite plot line in this book specifically is actually the Kenneth turning into Jesus plot line.
Yeah, I guess that kind of started pretty late in this book and will span into the next one too. But yeah, it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading more about that and like his miracles and how people react.
Yeah, but like also him turning into king, I think is really intriguing, and how
people are rallying behind him and the events that lead to that. It's been fun like looking into that too.
Yeah, and especially I like thinking about like how each action he makes really does luckily turn out for him.
Right.
Like he really maybe does have some sort of weird luck. So
at the end of last book, you were also very much looking forward to Malta's courting plotline.
Yeah.
And getting, into the Serwyn and Rain and everything and her developing as a character.
Yeah, that wasn't as exciting this time around for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's more of a deep read and not a light read. Mm-hmm. So made it less fun.
I think you're correct there. I think if you're just kind of going through the books, you're like, oh, Malta's changing so much. I'm so proud of her. But we took a look at her actions and could still see the flaws there and couldn't just brush them aside as easily. And yeah, she did change and she matured and that's great. But it was still kind of a vapid overview of what she was doing. And she wasn't quite as annoying, but she was still very superficial.
Right.
But yeah, it was enjoyable. I think my favorite character in this book, I think last book, I think I said Kenneth was still my favorite character out of that. And this one, I think it still is Kenneth.
Okay.
He's just so interesting. And I have a lot of fun kind of trying to figure out where he's coming from and what in his past made him like this. Paragon is also super interesting. But I don't have as much interest in a lot of the more straightforward characters, I guess.
Okay, fair.
Like Rain is pretty easy to see. Malta's pretty easy to see. Wintro is a little bit too samey and boring for me.
Okay.
I think you said that last time too, that he was just a little bit too whiny for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Kenneth is just so interesting to analyze of why he's like he is,
Yeah.
I think Edda's more interesting this book too than the first one. I think you said she was one of your favorites in Ship of Magic.
That's fair.
But I think this one, I really see her coming forward as a character rather than just a
plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fair. So I think Edda is very big in this one too. I don't know. I enjoyed this book quite a bit. As we've mentioned before, I'm kind of excited to move on because we've spent a long time on this book. But yeah, what was your least favorite character?
Probably Devad. Maybe Janie. I feel like I really have a distaste for Janie, and it's 100% because she babies Rain and then like overlooks the fact that the person that he likes is 13. I don't like any of it. I get it in some way. I mean, not in a mother's
It's their
perspective, but
culture
like,
kind of thing, right? Like they
right.
marry younger, and yeah, she's kind of like, oh, well, this is the first time Rain's in love, so I guess.
And maybe because she sees him as such an infantile sort of man, she's like, well,
Yeah.
it's fine. They're mentally the same age. Like, kind of agree, but but I don't know. I think I don't like that she feels very self-centered. She feels very like,
Yeah.
I don't know. She doesn't really think of the bigger picture, maybe. Maybe she is. Maybe that's not fair to say, but I don't know. She's
I dislike Cirilla.
Ooh, yeah, that's fair.
And that's something I said at the end of last book too, that I wasn't looking forward to the Cirilla parts. Because yeah, some of them are tough to get through. And I appreciate her as a character, but not in the same way that I appreciate Kenneth as a character. Like I can understand she's well written and I can understand her motivations for things. I just don't enjoy
That's fair.
anything really about her character.
She doesn't really have the charisma
Yeah.
that Kenneth has.
She doesn't even have, like, to me, she doesn't even have like the dislikability that Malta does,
Yeah.
To me, it's just kind of like she's a character that has her own motivations and has her own things that she's going through. I just don't care. Like
Yeah.
nothing got
She's
me invested in her on a
yeah.
personal level. So
I guess yeah, she's very like into the politics side of things, which I feel like aren't necessarily your favorite part anyway.
I like the politics sides of things. It's just when we get a Cirilla chapter, I feel like we've been in the politics sides of things for 10 chapters already.
Right. And then it's
And
just
maybe it
heavier handed.
suffers because of our slow reading of the book.
Fair.
So it could just be due to that. Because we don't get a lot of her, to be fair.
Yeah.
We don't.
I always wish that she knew more or like could give us more information and background, which she does. She does give
Yeah.
us like a lot more, I think. But a lot of the times I'm just wishing for a little bit more or like, I don't know. I guess she's just like a little outdated. Because she hasn't really experienced the world, right? Like she
Mhm.
was pretty young when the original satrap found her.
See,
And
I think that's what I want more out of her, too.
the
Is
growth.
no, it's her juxtaposition of what she thinks Bingtown is and what she's experiencing.
Yeah.
And we get like a couple sentences of it, but it's mostly just her maneuvering for power.
Yeah.
And it's not the scholar finally meeting the world that she was studying.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I think I want. That's what I feel like I was promised in my mind reading her character.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe it just didn't meet expectations.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the scholarly stuff gets pushed aside because she's focused more on surviving, which
Yeah.
valid and fair.
Maybe that's why I like
But-
Alice more than Cirilla. Alice
Yeah.
from the Rain Wilds, because she's like a scholar who gets to study,
Oh,
and
I
then
love
she
Alice.
kind of dwells on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I definitely wish there was more of that going on, more scholarly.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I get why she doesn't.
Oh
and
yeah,
like,
me too.
Like definitely
Totally
this
understandable.
criticism is like a very soft criticism, I think. But no, I definitely do get it. I wish
Mhm.
that we got a little bit more of that side of her. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like she's just on neutral ground for me. I kind of don't dislike, but I don't really like her either. She's just there.
Yeah,
Like her and Sinclair Falden. They're just kind of
Sinclair
there.
Falden at least has, an angle to him, right? Like he's giving up his daughters to gain power, and the thing he's just like a little greasy. He's like kind of
Little
gross.
weasel.
He's not in there
Yeah.
in the story as much as Cirilla either.
Maybe I should have said Kefria. It's like her and Kefria where like
yeah.
their plot points like are technically important and they do help move along the story. However, by the time it gets to their point of view, I'm kind of exasperated and ready to move on and like
I
okay.
actually want to bring that up too. That's something that you mentioned in that episode, the recap for Ship of Magic. Again, I think that was episode 151. You talked about how you were disappointed in Kefria's plotline the first time you read it because you thought that she would grow similar to Althea, that she
Yeah.
would kind of, become a stronger character and maybe even go with Althea later on and things like that. And you were kind of looking forward to exploring that in the second book a little bit more. And that's what you were hoping for when you were first reading it. is that you hoped that Kefri would blossom a little bit more. Now that we're looking back on it, how do you think that's developed, and what do you think of Kefria this book?
Um, I definitely think that Kefria blossomed more. I
Yeah, me
think
too.
clearly, especially by the last chapter we had with her, well, maybe not the last, the second to last, where she offers up herself as a spy,
Mm-hmm.
which is super dangerous and tricky, and then immediately is like, oh, I'm not Althea. Why did I think I could do this? I'm proud of her for being brave. I think I said it in that episode too, though, that it kind of felt out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
she still has moments of really being removed from what I would consider like the dirty work of life, which is just like dealing with her kids and her mom and what's happening around them on a more deeper level and not a
Yeah.
superficial level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still wish there was more growth, but I'm happy with the growth she has shown, I guess.
Yeah. There's not much more to her after
Oh,
this trilogy either. I don't think
well,
she's
yeah,
mentioned again. So,
gets forgotten,
yeah.
which is crazy to me. I just don't know how you like that mistake gets made considering it is such a big plot point in this
Yeah.
book. Like it's the whole plot point in the first book is that her husband gets the ship and Althea doesn't. And like I was thinking about this the other day. This is a little bit of a tangent, obviously, but I was thinking about this the other day, but I'm so curious to know when we read the next Rainwild Chronicle trilogy, well, quadrilogy, how they maneuver the fact that Malta's dad is dead, but in a different way. Like, because obviously Kyle is not Vestrit or Ephraim Vestrit. So, how are they going to play that angle? I don't know. I just am so curious about the whole thing because
Yeah.
that's a whole big plot point to Malta is saving her dad. That's why she made the
Yeah.
deal with the dragon. I don't know.
I don't think those issues pop up until the last trilogy, where
Okay.
Malta and Althea could be a typo, or noted as like sisters or something.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess maybe that's just a Fitz assumption. We'll have to get there, obviously, but like,
yeah.
I don't know. Just thoughts.
Yeah. It's an interesting book for sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were first reading through these, what you thought of this one? It's back a ways now.
Yeah.
Kind of all blend in together as a chunk.
I think like most second books in a trilogy, this one made me excited to read the next one.
Yeah.
I think
It did
that
its job.
yeah, it did its job. It made me like, okay, what happens next? How is this ending? In a way where I think when I finished the first book, I kind of was like, well, I don't really care about the story enough to like, if I never read it again, I won't be that curious. But at the end of this book, it was more like, okay, I need to read the next book.
Right.
I need to know what happens. So
I think I think I asked the question in that last recap episode of, did you know where the story was going? Because we talked about how you like to kind of predict where things are
Yeah.
going. When your first time through these books, did you know where the story was going during the first book? And you're like, I had no idea. I actually like didn't know where I was going. Did you have predictions during this book? Like the second book of the trilogy for the third book? Your first time through, you're like, I think I know where the plot is going now.
yeah, I think I had some correct guesses, I remember, and some not so correct guesses.
Mhm.
I thought that Tintaglia would end up helping with the war, which did happen
Yeah.
because she needs to get through the mouth of that river to get her serpents there, and she can't
Mhm.
if it's being blocked by other people. So I knew that that would have to be like somehow she's going to be involved in getting them out. I didn't know how. I was like, it's probably Malta that's going to, maybe that's part of
Right.
Malta's deal now.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I figured that would happen, which does. And then I think the other thing was I thought Kenneth would become a super powerful pirate king, and then we would like end with him having like this big kingdom, which does not happen. So I was like pretty confident that he was gonna be like having a castle by the end of this and just like super powerful. I was kind of curious how it was gonna go with Selden.
Yeah. Because he finally spoke.
Yeah, yeah. I also was wondering about Wintro and like what he's gonna be doing with
Mhm.
because obviously Vivacia is going to find, or Paragon's going to find Vivacia. Like, Robin
Yeah,
Hobb, an
that's
author, would not do all that work and have them not meet. So
right.
I knew they would meet up at some point, but I was like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, I think Vivacia is going to refuse to go back with Althea. I think it's
Hmm.
too late. But then I think, like, will Selden go back? Will he
Wintro.
stay? Wintro, sorry. Will Wintro stay or will he go back? And so, I
Yeah,
don't know.
just kind of up in the air.
Yeah. So,
Couple
uh,
right guesses, couple wrong guesses.
yeah.
So now
That's
that
how it
you've read
goes.
them and now that you know what's going to happen, what are you looking forward to in the third book?
I am so excited for the reunion with Paragon and Kenneth, and also Vivacia and Althea.
The Paragon and Kenneth one happens so quickly. It's
Yeah,
in a battle and then he dies.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah. I don't know. I think that whole scene, that whole battle, everything, I think Kyle's death, that big scene, I'm so excited for. I cannot wait. I think it's like, I remember it as being so exciting and crazy. And so I'm kind of excited
We're
to
gonna have to
dig
wait
into that.
almost another year for that.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm also excited for Brash and Althea's relationship to develop
Hmm.
more. They're gonna obviously get together, so that's nice. Um, I'm ready for the moment to come where I definitely knew the fool was Amber slash Amber was the fool. And I think I'm really excited to see the Bingtown War. Like,
Yeah,
I like,
I'm actually more excited for that than a couple other things because I know there's more ship drama with Brash and Althea and everyone on
yeah,
there. I know there's more like little boat drama with Malta, the satrap, and Kiki.
right,
And I'm not looking forward to those probably 10 chapters of them doing that before they get to where the big events happen.
right.
So I'm not looking forward to those parts, but I'm looking forward to what comes out of those events
Yeah.
because I know I'm looking forward to Malta kind of stepping into the role of I'm going to be an ambassador slash companion for you, Satrap, because I'm going to negotiate everything for the benefit of Bingtown
Yeah.
and to keep you alive because I'll be your advisor. So I'm looking forward to her stepping into that role and negotiating and things like that. But I'm really looking forward to, like you said, the politics and the Battle of Bangtown and how that all kind of comes about and the different forces at play there. So, and I'm looking forward to Brash and Althea and Paragon going to Key Island and
Yeah,
meeting
yeah.
up with Mother.
That's true. I'm also, I guess, kind of excited to see what Cirilla does next
Yeah.
because I know next book is more of the focus of her plotting and trying to get power.
Kind of paired with Road Cairn.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think lots of things to look forward to.
exactly.
Did you have any chapters that were standout for you for this past book?
Oh, I don't really keep track of things like that, and it's been so long that we've
That's
gone
fair.
over this sort of stuff. I really do like. I mean, recency bias, but I really do like the one on Other Island
Yeah.
with when Wintro goes and frees the serpent, and Kenneth and Etta are there and fighting and stuff. That one's very very fun.
That's chapter 34, the Oracle. I know that because that is one of the only ones that I marked as being my favorite as well.
Oh, nice. Do you have any others?
Um, also very recently, the Death of the City.
Yeah, yeah, that one's good too. I mean, action.
Yeah.
It sticks out in your mind a little bit more.
Yeah.
I do like the summer ball or the traders ball
Oh,
one
yeah.
too with Malta. It's it's a very very teenage drama kind of one with like the miscommunications,
Right.
but I do like all the politics at play
Yeah.
and what people think and Cirilla making her move and the satrap showing there and it kind of kicks off the whole drama in Bingtown.
Yeah,
So
true.
that one's nice. And a couple of the dredging Paragon out and fixing him
Yeah.
up and Brash and kind of taking control. Those are nice too, just to see kind of him stepping into the role of captain.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really keep track of chapters that way,
That's
unfortunately.
fair.
Lots to look forward to. Any last thoughts on the book?
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of glad it's over, mostly because we've been doing this for over a year,
Yeah,
but kind of sad to see it go, actually.
yeah,
Like a little, this is how I feel about the third book of the Fitz trilogy. Like, oh, I'm like, I don't, I like, I'm happy, but also sad to leave it. What about you?
Well, we got one more book for it, at least another year. I
True,
think by
true.
the end we'll be like glad to get back.
True.
If it's, I mean, I'm already looking to Tawny Man. I think that's my favorite trilogy out of all of these.
I'm so excited for Tawny Man, actually.
Well, I got lots to look forward to. I want to thank everyone who has listened and chimed in, rated, reviewed us, anything, any participation, any downloading, any just listening to a couple episodes here and there. Really appreciate all of you who have supported us along the way. We have over 160,000 downloads, which is amazing. Over 200 episodes now. We've been doing this for over 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we'll see you back. We'll have a couple week break, as I mentioned before, and we'll be back with Ship of Destiny.
Ooh.
I know. The prologue for Ship of Destiny.
Yeah. It's exciting. We cannot wait. I don't know. I'm sad to see this book go. Like I said, before we leave it, we need to know what's the ranking so far of the books.
Oh, right. Like I said, I think this one is better than Ship of Magic. I really like Royal Assassin. I think that was my number one. I don't remember. We did the rankings before, and I don't remember if I'm going to have the same ranking or not. But off the top of my head, I think it was Royal Assassin, then Assassin's Apprentice, then Assassin's Quest. So I think Royal Assassin, Assassin's Apprentice, Mad Ship, Assassin's Quest, Ship of Magic.
Okay.
I think. But that, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit arbitrary to the day anyway, but
yeah.
Fair. I think I don't remember what I said either. If I'm being honest, I feel like I said that the first Fitz book was at the bottom of the Fitz trilogy, but not the bottom. Like the last book was at the bottom, maybe.
Hey, I don't remember where we put Ship of Magic. I don't even know if we ranked them. That one.
We might not.
I know we ranked the trilogy.
Yeah, I would definitely put the last book at the very bottom. This book I would put, maybe in slot 2 for me, because I liked this book a lot. I think it goes Royal Assassin, Mad Ship, Assassin's Quest, Assassin's Apprentice,
and then Ship
of Magic.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of consistent. I really like the first one just for like nostalgia, and it kind of sets everything up. And it seems to have like a nice climax at the end. But in general, we both like the second books of trilogies.
Yeah.
And we don't love the setup normally. Okay. Fairly similar, just the first and the third Fitz books kind of switched around there.
Yeah.
Again, thank you everyone for tuning in.
And thank you guys for reaching out to us and giving us fun theories and playing along with our tinfoil hat theories. Yeah. We really enjoy doing this just as like a fun thing. And so it's nice when you guys participate and we get to see thoughts that we have brought up in you or thoughts that you can bring to us that we have never even thought of. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
See you in the next book.
Yeah.